During this time, when the earth, groaning, rids itself of the poisons which humans, in their blind ignorance, have inflicted on the planet, it will shake off this burden, and divine grace will help cleanse the lower astral collective body, all three-dimensional structures, with an indescribable fire. The time is near when the earth will unleash the elements, and the angel of judgment will purify it through fire, water, and earthquakes. During her pain or giving birth, Mother Earth will suffer a near breakdown, which will culminate and end in the burning of all that is inferior. The darkness of this world, the afterbirth, will be burnt, and a new humankind will be born. Before this climax, there will only be two parties left, the three-dimensional and the five-dimensional people, who are able to integrate their like body. On the day X, the spirits will be separated. In the same way that it happened during the days of Noah, it will occur again during the days of the human son. They ate, they drank, they married until that day when Noah entered the ark and the arrival of the flood killed all. Just like it happened during the days of Lot, they ate, they drank, they bought and sold, they planted and constructed every day. But the day Lot left Sodom, fire and sulfur descended from the heavens and killed everyone. So it will happen when the Son of Man is revealed. Whoever will be on the roof on that day and leave his coat inside the house should not return downstairs to get it. And whoever is out in the field should not turn back. Just remember Lot's wife. I say unto you, during that night, when a couple will be in bed, one will be taken, the other left behind.
Jesus used Noah as an illustration of end times. He indicated that just as it was in the days of Noah with the flood, so at the end of time there would be devastation. And just as the flood cleansed the world of that time of sin, so with the coming of Jesus there will be a flood of fire that will cleanse the earth. One can visit the area of Mount Ararat, which is the area of eastern Turkey. Ararat, of course, covered the area of Armenia, Turkey, some of Iraq, quite a large area. And in the Tenderek Mountains there, across from Agridag, which is the mountain that is usually referred to as Mount Ararat today, there's been quite a bit of focus of attention upon a boat-like shape in recent times. But the evidence would indicate at this stage that that is not the Ark of Noah. The Ark of Noah was possibly, if we understand what the gopher wood was, and we don't, but if we go back to the original writings, the Ark of Noah was probably built out of papyrus reed. But this great flood deluged the world of that time and cleansed the earth. And Jesus said, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man.
For the survivors of these events, it will be a new era of peace, of spiritual completion. The brothers of space will reveal themselves as the keepers of Christ, and a large white cross will be seen in the sky. Thousands of motherships in the formation of a flying cross will be seen in the sky to herald the return of the Christ. For the chosen ones, it will be important to pay attention to their intuition and to their dreams, because the higher self will be sending out impulses ahead of the disasters caused by humanity and triggered by nature, in order to be in the right location at the right time. Earth will be cleansed for the 7th time, and God within us will decide whether we will be the seed for perfected mankind.
The Earth development in the material world can be divided into 7 successive cycles. At present, we are in the last stage of the 7th cycle. Each cycle was finished by a cataclysm on the Earth, but those who embodied the cosmic values were saved. Those were the people who had collected the necessary energy vibration for the new cycle. It was always the result of individual experiences. Activated energetic channels and supersenses are the consequences of these changes in a man's body. People receiving messages through their supersenses also receive information about places where certain disasters will take place. It refers to Japan, Great Britain and some European countries.
Będą narażone na pogrążenie się w odmętach wody.
Much information we receive during our dreams, when the body is relaxed, calmed, and our intellect and personality do not disturb us. We become open to all impulses which can reach us from the outside. Everything that comes during a dream, which seems to be unreal, in many cases shows us situations which will happen here on Earth. Please pay special attention to your dreams. From many messages we can learn how in practice the Earth will enter the anti-material world. The last material cycle finishes in the 80s and 90s, so we are just in the center of the universe. We are entering the antimatter. The Earth will move differently in the antimaterial side than at the moment. This movement will have a shape of the number 8, rotating not around the Sun, but at first around 2 energetic centers. One of them will be the Sun, and the second will be Saturn. The rest of the planets will also rotate in the way of the number 8 shape, around the centers mentioned before.
The coming years will decide how we will experience the external changes. We have the choice either to face the events in fear or to see the cataclysmic conditions of the prophecies of the apocalypse as a necessary renewal for mankind. Because it is up to us how we view the purification. Mother Earth itself will try to awaken us as softly as possible when she gets her planetary contractions for the birth of a more conscious humanity. The world has received many warnings from saints, extraterrestrials, and prophets. The world has been given many signs. However, at the end of time, everyone will recognize that which he did not want to see. At the time of the ascension, it will be up to us to realize that 1/3 of the air, 1/3 of the water, 1/3 of the flora and fauna, and 1/3 of mankind has left the planet, as indicated in various apocalyptic prophecies. A smooth transition would occur if the light workers and humans, through liberation of their active love, and through the call for divine grace, and if millions of people were willing to work on themselves in order to participate in a mass ascension. This would weaken the global events and divert the karmic release more towards the individual human beings. The present readiness for this, however, is only too limited, and Mother Earth will shake us to wake us up.
Much of the information does indicate that parts of continents will sink. Certainly the first chapter of the book, Zukunft Vision, talks about my personal experience of living through what I felt was the sinking of much of the lands of California. And I've also done research then into what Edgar Casey has said about Japan or parts of Japan going into the sea, and finally the work of an American channel named Lori Wilkins Toy, whose Freedom Star map shows even part of Australia being split in half, a good deal of Russia and the northern part of Europe going under the water, and parts of Northern and South America. All of this would be compensated by new land, however, coming up in the Pacific, a new Lemurian type of land, I guess, and possibly some new land in the Atlantic that might be considered to be a new Atlantis, so that the relationship between continents and the sea would remain pretty much constant over time.
The current events on Earth should surely wake up every sensitive person to the fact that we are in the seventh ending of time, and that several prophecies have already partially been realized, or are bound to happen very shortly. The cyclical apocalypses of creation are like a school of life, where one is promoted to the next grade at the end of term. A certain percentage of mankind is not capable of ascending to the next grade because of a lack of preparation. After their present lifetime, they are going on vacation for a long recovery in the astral world. After a good recovery, the souls repeat the failed school year on other planets and then move on to new cycles of incarnations. The positive and the negative on this planet are continuously strengthening. We receive daily news of earthquakes from around the planet, flood disasters, volcanic eruptions, well over 100 war zones, and many massacres are causing new famines, misery, and new migrations of nations. We are receiving daily news of new environmental disasters. The ozone hole spreads out at a frantic pace. The jungles which represent the lungs of the earth are being cut down globally. The loss of trees through environmental destruction is escalating. The greenhouse effect and the Earth's temperature are increasing globally. Thus, the climatic zones are shifting so fast that we can already observe the change. Snow is falling in areas where there has not been any before, and elsewhere it is warming up in areas where it used to be cold. The ecological balance has already been disturbed to such a degree that thousands of species of animals and plants have already apparently disappeared from this planet forever. Other species are in plague proportions, as happened in ancient Egypt. We seem to be suffocating in our own rubbish and poison dumps. Millions of people are infected with new and apparently incurable diseases. Raw materials seem to be exhausted, and the Earth is experiencing a population explosion.
Yes, I've been working for a number of years on future progressions. This work culminated in the book Mass Dreams of the Future, in German Zukunftsvisionen der Menschheit, and the method that was used was started by Dr. Helen Wambach to take people into past lives. It's a light trance state used in groups where we would then ask very ordinary questions of people once they were taken into a specific future time period. The numbers of people that we worked with were over 2,500, and actually in the book we have the results from about 500 out of that group. In part that's because many people didn't find themselves coming back in the time periods that we initially asked them. This was one of the first and rather surprising results of our research, that so few people found themselves coming back to the Earth or to the material plane at the time of a couple hundred years from now. The fact that there are so few people that seem to come back in the time periods that we worked with could lead one to believe that there might be something like an apocalypse in the future. However, I think that it's a question of a choice that we have in this matter.